Like you said, we don't have a lot of time, but the world is actually, it's really beautiful. People are actually really beautiful, and the music and their food and just life
Hmm.
is just incredible. Just, just do it. I don't want to have regret.
Welcome back to our podcast, Wondering Works for Us. Today we are joined by Yolanda Reshemah, host of the podcast, The Places We Call Home. Yolanda has relocated 6 times and knows firsthand that living abroad is about much more than just moving to a country. Originally from the Grenadines, she first moved to England at the age of 10 and has since lived in places like France and the United States. Through her podcast, she explores the emotional side of expat life, things like identity, belonging, and what it really takes to create a home somewhere new. In this episode, we talk to Yolanda about life abroad and share some of our own experiences moving from the U.S. to Portugal. Please welcome Yolanda to the show. Welcome back to our podcast, Wondering Works for Us. I'm Shelley.
And I'm Beth.
And today we have Yolanda Reshemah with us.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, it's morning for you. It is evening for us.
Indeed.
Yes.
Yolanda has a podcast of her own called The Places We Call Home Podcast. And so today we're going to have a little conversation about what it's like to not necessarily live where you're from. Yeah? Okay, good.
Which we all do.
Which we all are currently not living where we're from.
Are. Yes, we are. Good morning. Good morning. Well, good afternoon. I'm so delighted to join you. Thank you for inviting me and having me on your show. I'm looking forward to our conversation and all of the things we're going to share with everybody out there who is living abroad or who's thinking about it. I can't wait.
Me too.
Well, welcome, Yolanda. I think this topic is very pertinent right now. We have had several friends who have called us and we've had conversations with, all from the U.S., who are thinking of moving. Mostly it's been specifically to Portugal. And they've wanted to know, how did we do it? And that kind of thing. We'll see if any of them actually move.
Yeah, but the actual moving and living abroad is very different in real life than it is in your head.
Yes, it is. And I have learned that the hard way. And I mean, I myself personally, I've relocated about 6 times, and every single time has been very different. And it pulls out more from you. I'm not trying to discourage anyone. I would always say, do it. It's an amazing experience. But we'll get into that a little bit after. But there are some stuff people really need to know, right? That you will have experienced as well.
Yes. So tell us, Yolanda, where you're actually from and then where you're living now.
Well, I would say I'm from many places, two in particular. Initially, I moved from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which is in the Caribbean, a Caribbean island. And I moved from there at the age of 10 to England. And I grew up in England. Most of my family members are based in England. And I met a boy and we got married. And fairly soon after getting married, we moved to the US because we were thinking, we need a change of scenery. We need a change of pace. Where shall we go? Where can we find more sun? So after thinking about it was literally that. We thought about where could we find more sun? And we decided Singapore, no. Dubai, no. California. So I now live with my husband and daughter in California, Northern California, just outside San Francisco. That's where I am now.
And do you have more sun?
Yes. Thank God. We
We
do.
were wondering, from Northern California, sometimes is it known for their sun?
Yeah, it is sunny. I mean, right now I'm looking out the window. Yeah, it's sunny. The last few days have been like 22, 23. We've had a couple of days 25 already. So we've gone straight from a very small winter, which is ideal, into summer. So yeah, we do generally have more sun. We made the right move.
That's great. That's great. And our listeners know, of course, that we are from the United States, North Carolina in particular. And we've now been in Portugal on the Silver Coast for 3 years.
3 years this month.
Yes. Thank you.
So our journey has been short, but it hasn't felt as though it's been a short journey here. We have learned a great deal and experienced a great deal since we've been here, but we would not change a thing, I don't think.
Yeah, they say one of the secrets of staying young is to engage your brain every day and to continuously learn. And we're
We're doing that every day.
We're forever young at this point.
Joining you on that.
So you have a podcast called The Places We Call Home. What inspired you to create this podcast?
Oh my goodness, that is an amazing question because my background was initially in law and I moved into strategic communications and nothing to do with broadcasting, nothing to do with podcasts, but certainly with writing, certainly with meeting people together, forging relationships and finding solutions. And this podcast came up after a number of different groups of friends here in the US, nothing to do with each other, kept saying, this is probably about 2, 3 years ago, kept saying, with all of these conversations that we have, Yoli, you should record them. And my response is, why would I record them? Why would I do that? Why don't you do it? And it kept going on and on because we would get together, jump in the car, go on trips into Napa Valley, go wine tasting and all the lovely stuff we get to enjoy here. And we would have these deep and meaningful and revelatory conversations about life and living here as foreigners and what it feels like and all of this stuff. And other friends would start saying to me, Yolanda, you have a lovely voice. We have these great conversations. You should record this or do an app. And different people kept saying this. And it got to a bit of a crescendo when I would go to the supermarket and start up a conversation with a random stranger over, I don't know, breakfast cereal. They would ask me questions. Oh, do you record your voice? And have you ever thought about recording and having conversations with other people? And that was a little bit like, ah. Anyway, I resisted it for a while and eventually I decided I'm going to do it. I don't know how to do it. I've never done it. I'm petrified. I'm petrified of putting myself out there. I don't want people to know me. I don't want strangers to criticize me. I don't know how to do this, but I'm just going to try it. And I mentioned it to one chap and he said, I have a studio that you could use for free. And somebody else overheard and said, oh, well, I have a microphone that you can use. And somebody said, well, I'm going to put an app on your laptop so you can do the thingamajiggy and editing, and I'll teach you how to do it. And then I was just standing in the middle of this whirlwind, and it started happening. And other people kept saying, I know somebody you can talk to. And that's how it started doing. That's how it started happening. But the thing, you ladies are frozen. I hope you can still hear me. Can you
We
still
can
hear me?
still hear you. I don't know if you can
Okay.
hear us. Okay, we can still hear you. Yeah, I just got a thing that said, my internet connection was unstable. I hope I got all of that because it was so good. If it's not, I'm going to call you up and be like, okay, I need you to repeat that whole thing that you don't remember
Yeah.
online. But yes, now she's frozen.
Oh,
Am I frozen?
there
okay,
she
there
is.
you are. Yeah. Okay. So,
Okay.
side note on all of that, one of the wonderful things about living out in the country in Portugal or living in a foreign land is you don't always have good internet connection out here. And
Are you out in the sticks?
we are in a rural area. We're not, we're about an hour and 15 minutes north of Lisbon. We are in a farming community. And
Okay.
although it's a bigger village than many villages here, we still have issues with getting fiber optics on our internet. And so every now and then we'll wake up and go, oh, the internet's not working today.
Yes.
And because we had a big storm last night and with the wind, I was afraid I was going to have to email you and say, we might have to postpone because our internet's being wonky, especially from that storm that we had in January that knocked out power and everything for 2 to 3 days. So they still haven't fixed a lot of stuff. So, But anyway, our internet seems to be working fine now.
Yes.
Anyhow,
And it's
Oh,
not
okay.
and it's not that some people around us don't have good internet. Ours just is I don't know. We're working on it.
yeah, there's
Mm,
competition, but not everything is great. These are things that you deal with when you move to a different place, and you learn to live with it and
okay.
complain.
Okay.
What do you like about podcasting?
What do I like about podcasting? I love the personal stories because what I'm shaping and the intention of what I'm doing is having people who are the experts of their own lives share what they've discovered, share the tips and share the tools. I share tips and tools of navigating the psychological impact of moving abroad because I've done it 6 times and I've done it in all those major phases of my life as a child, as a young adult, as a parent with a young child, and seeing that child navigate those changes, the psychological impact, the emotional impact of moving abroad and moving with a husband, and how he has had to do it as well, how he has had to navigate that change, being away from our friends and ask the question, where is home? What feels like home? Who am I now that I live here? I love all of that. I love having these discussions, but I particularly love also that for the guests who come on the show, it's a chance for them. And this wasn't something I realized I was doing, but it's a chance for them to offload, to share the whole grieving process of I'm away, the culture's different, I'm a professional at home, but now that I'm here, I'm not seen as that anymore. Everything that I was before is now irrelevant. I'm having to rebuild who I am here. It's that whole process of grieving for the guest, of shedding the load, but it's also simultaneously sharing tips and information and providing guide and help and support for other people who are inevitably in that position or will be in that position. So that is what I love.
That's great. So, you personally, if I said to you, when you think of the word home, what does it mean to you today?
Oh my gosh, you ask such fabulous questions. What does home mean to me today? Home means a few different things to me. Home, on one hand, is the land where I was born, where I was shaped, where I grew up, where I was formed, where my identity is so solid and rooted. It's where I know the things that I love, beaches and mangoes and continual sunshine and the richness of walking bare feet on the earth. Just all of those lovely things that we might pay through the nose for here. Home is also where my ancestors are. They're buried. But home is also where my family is, my immediate family, my husband, my daughter, our friends here, the community of people who encourage me to keep podcasting when I'm procrastinating and when I feel overwhelmed that I don't know how to do this, I can't do the editing, and I don't know how to do social media, who'll prod me in the side and say, go and find out and do it. The people who are helping me to become the person that I'm becoming, if that makes sense, becoming a founder, being a founder, and the people who are around me to say, yes, you can do this, and we'll encourage you, but also we'll help you do it. This is also home because of that community of people. So I think home is about people and it's about being rooted.
Mm, that's very nice. I think a home for me is not any longer in the United States, where I am from, really. I have a t-shirt that has the outline of the state of North Carolina on it, and it says home. And I still wear it occasionally. And I realize every time I put it on that it's not true. And I think about it every time I wear it. And home for me is, well, first and foremost, where my wife Shelley is. That's what makes home for me. But I think now that we've been here for 3 years, I feel like we are deeply rooted here in our village. We have made incredible friends and are looking forward to being more fluent in Portuguese as time goes on to make more Portuguese friends who do not speak English, or at least very little. But I feel like this is home. I feel like I'm from North Carolina. And before that, I was actually born in Tennessee. I feel like that's where I'm from, but I feel like this is home. So I guess that's my answer. What do you think, Shelley?
I don't necessarily. It's that's a hard question because I could say home is where I feel as though I belong. Like I walk into a place and these are my people and I know the language and I know who these people are and I know what they want. And it's funny now because in many aspects when I look back at my home in North Carolina and knowing that I can walk into any place and feel at home, technically speaking, that is not my home because those values and the way that things are moving doesn't like align with myself anymore.
Mhm.
So when we decided to move, we decided that Portugal was going to be our home. And it's kind of like I feel as though I'm still in a transition of making this my home where I'm still trying to learn the language. And even though, yes, we have many friends here from the United States, from the UK, from Portugal, it's still as though this is not to say that we don't belong here doesn't seem right
Mhm.
because we belong wherever we feel like we should belong. But on the
Mhm.
other hand, I don't feel comfortable when I walk into a grocery store still and I have to struggle with the language or I
Mhm.
have to struggle with certain contexts and cultural things inside of a cafe. I still have to stand back
Mhm.
and observe and see, like, okay, how are they doing it so I don't do it
Mhm.
the wrong way? And that is kind of how I'm coping. Now, generally speaking, when I walk back into our apartment, that is home because my wife is here, my doggie is here, I feel safe here, I know the language here, I know the culture here. I know what we're having for dinner because I'm making it. But,
Mhm.
once you exit that door and it's every day when I go out the door, it's like, "Oh, okay, I got to put on another identity or I've got to change the way that I'm thinking in order to function outside."
I was just about to ask. So it's more than geographics. It's about, I'm trying to just get what I think I'm hearing that for you, it's not only about geographics, it's about the culture that you love. It's about belonging. Home is about belonging. It's about where you feel safe. It's where you can grow and expand and just be yourself freely,
Yes.
truly, authentically.
Yes. And I will say that there's many aspects about Portugal that has allowed me to do that because I am in a place that I feel safe physically, feeling safe and more or less emotionally and mentally. But, there's other aspects that, when people are speaking in a line and I don't understand what they're saying, it gets a little not scary, just wonky. I'm not afraid
Hmm.
that people are talking about me behind my back, but at the same time, I
Hmm.
would like to know what's going on because
I
Yes.
that's just in my nature. I
yeah,
want to know what's going on. So
I think it stresses you more than me.
it does. She is a very easygoing person and she's an
Extrovert.
extrovert. I couldn't think of the word extrovert. And so she doesn't mind talking to people about anything. And even if she doesn't know the language, she tries, in English and in Portuguese. Me, on the first hand, I'm standing there staring at the person trying to think of the words in my head. Okay, in Portuguese, how would I say, where is this? Or how can I,
Hmm.
and so I'm trying so hard to integrate into a community and to a culture that I will never fully integrate into. While she's just like, I'm here. Everything's great. I love your country. The food is wonderful. Can I have some wine?
Ah.
you know? so,
It it
Ah.
it is that is true. That is true.
yeah.
Although I will say at the most profound level, and I do not know where I heard this or read this, don't even remember which one it was. Very recently, someone was talking about living in a country, moving to a country that is not where you're from. And this person said, you are never fully at home or integrated where you move to. And not
Mhm.
only that, but you are no longer fully integrated and completely at home where you moved from
Mhm.
because you go back home, if you want to call it that, for example, and you're with friends. And of course, they're so excited to see you and it's great, but they have lived for us 3 years without us, and there's a lot we don't know about them, even my closest friends. And we just don't have all of those shared experiences now, 3 years now of not doing that. And it is different. And it's sad if you let yourself, think about it too much. And yet, where we are now, although the our Portuguese neighbors and the people in this village and generally wherever we've been in Portugal are so kind to us and so helpful and
Mhm.
just very welcoming. But at the same time, we will never be part of their long time shared experience.
Mhm.
We will never be on the inside when it comes to something. We'll always be a little bit detached from that and a little bit of detached where we're from,
We're in
where we live.
limbo.
So it's like there is this in
Yeah.
between place, and I think a lot of people struggle with that when they move. I'm personally mostly okay with it, but part of that is because I have Shelley.
Mhm.
And
I'm
Shelley,
your anchor.
yeah, she's my anchor. She is here with me. I cannot imagine doing this by yourself. I think that would be more isolating.
Mhm.
Um,
I
so anyway,
I think you could do it by
That's
yourself easier than I could. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I love that. That's amazing because that in between bit is there is so much to say about it because obviously we're in between, as you said, because back at home, their life, back at home, our original home where we're from, life continues to move on. People continue to grow, things change, and we're not there. We're not a part of it. And in our new home, away from home, our new country, for you, Portugal, for me, the US, it feels like just continually catching up, learning how to integrate, learning, or rather acculturate. That whole process of learning takes time. And sometimes where you land, I've got a friend, a guest who came from Russia to the USA, landed in Texas, and could not stay there
Ooh,
because it was absolutely the wrong environment for her. She was basically excommunicated because her personality, her style, just her way of communicating just did not mesh with theirs at all. The cultures were too different. So she had to find somewhere else to create a sense of belonging and create a sense of home. But I would be interested in hearing what you did yourself. How do you create a sense of home when you move abroad?
I'd say first we made our space our safe space. And of course, before we even moved here, we did a great deal of research about where we wanted to be. So, and the United States is so big and everything is so diverse. I mean, there is a big difference between Texas, between North Carolina, between New York, between California. And
Yeah.
making that decision alone would be incredibly hard. And
if you
even
were going to the
yeah,
US,
if
you
you're
mean?
going to the US,
Yes.
and even here in Portugal, we felt out Porto, we felt out Lisbon, we felt out things in between. We went to the Algarve, we were like, no, that's not our place. So we had the ability to do that. And so once we figured out, okay, this is the area that we want to be in, then we moved on to, okay, we need to be part of this community. And it's going to mean trying a bunch of different things that may or may not work, like volunteering to peel potatoes at the pesta. Nobody speaks any English. We don't speak very good Portuguese, but hey, we're going to go in and we're going to try this out because we want to let the people know we are here.
Yeah.
We plan to stay here and we want to be part of your community. And I think that was really what kind of helped us a lot. Plus, we're lucky enough that our village has a lot of people that had immigrated to Canada at one time and then came back. And so they knew how to speak some English. They knew they were part of the community already, and they were able to introduce us into it to help us integrate. But still, for the most part, I mean, we have a few people that we hang out with that are Portuguese, but, our best friends are from the United States and the UK. It's all, you got to put yourself out there. And as an introvert, it's the hardest thing in the entire world to do.
And I also think for me, we came to Portugal with the attitude that we are what we consider immigrants, not expats.
No, that's a good point.
That's interesting. Tell me about that.
I see expats, people who call themselves expats, they move to areas where they do not integrate. And this is, of course, a generalization, of course. As soon as I say it, there's somebody that will say, oh, I don't feel that way at all. But in general, people who use the word expat are living in some kind of community where they all speak a common language like English.
Or they're all from the same place.
They're all, and mostly it's British, Scots, Irish, Americans. Whom else am I forgetting? Some other people. There's a lot of Germans.
Yeah.
And they all speak English. None of them are necessarily Portuguese, and they all do something in common. Like down the road from us, there is a resort, a golf resort and community. In fact, there's 3 of them. And these people are generally expats. They still go back to their home country a lot.
And they don't consider necessarily, they're residents here in Portugal, but they don't consider themselves people that are going to stay here forever.
Right.
Like they're not going to become Portuguese citizens.
Right.
They may be residents for a while and then they'll go back to their home.
Or move on to something else.
Yeah. Or move on to something else.
They are still transient. Even though they might be here 20 years. They
What
never
was that word?
quite
I missed it. Did you say transient?
Transient.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Whereas I see an immigrant as someone who comes to Portugal and fully
or
anywhere else, yes. But in this case, for us, Portugal, and we fully intended from the very beginning to become Portuguese citizens when we have the opportunity and the privilege to do so, and to stay here, not to just come here because the visa is easier, get our Portuguese citizenship in 5 to 7 years, depending on how long it takes, and then because we have an EU passport, move to France or whatever, which is how some people have treated it. And I see them as expats. They're traveling around, and hey, there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want for your life, there's nothing wrong with it. But we came here from the very beginning intending to integrate into our community, to learn Portuguese, and to become citizens and to stay here. And now we were also very lucky that we found the perfect landlords from the very beginning, and what we consider the perfect village to live in from the very beginning. Some people come to Portugal and they land in, let's say, Porto, and they decide, this is a little too big for me. After my lease is up in a year, I'm going to move to X in Portugal and try that out. Those people maybe consider them immigrants as well, but they just didn't land in quite the right place. Like your friend in Texas, who then moved to, where did she move to, by the way?
San Francisco. And she's at home
Oh,
here.
there you go.
Much better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think sometimes you have to try out some different places, but we were very lucky that we landed somewhere that we love and don't want to leave. But I see that as a difference in attitude, really, whether you're an expat or whether you're an immigrant. And I'm a little, as you can tell, the way I have waxed poetic about the subject, I am a little, I will say, touchy about the subject. I do not want to be called an expat. I want to be called an immigrant. That also has a little bit to do with what's going on in the United States right now.
Yes,
I'm proud to be an immigrant, and I stand with the immigrants in the United States. And so it has a little bit to do with that as well.
I see. I appreciate that. And I think you are so right, because for me, I use those terminologies, those descriptions interchangeably. Because for me, if somebody describes themselves as an expat, okay. If somebody describes themselves as an immigrant, for me, that's okay too. Because for me, as far as I'm concerned, they're both people who immigrate, who leave their country of origin to set up a life abroad. So I think of everybody as an immigrant because you have immigrated. But I respect the terminology used. And I think what I find so very interesting in that move is when you are abroad, do you look for something that reflects the country you've left, the home that you've left? I always try to find out why we do that. And I realize there's something about safety in numbers, but you leave home for a reason. And often it's there's so many reasons why we move abroad, right? For adventure, chasing the sun, like me, for a better life or a different life, or a job, we move for love. But I feel sometimes we look back at home with these rose tinted glasses, thinking it was perfect there. Let me recreate what I had there in this new environment, which in itself can stop us from experiencing all the wondrous things there is to see and feel and taste and hear in this new land. And I feel like you're doing that there in Portugal. You're part of the environment. You're part of this village life, right? It sounds like you haven't recreated the American way of living, or do you? It should be a question.
Well,
We do not.
no, I don't. I wouldn't completely agree with that, because in many aspects we came in with the attitude we are going to immigrate. We're going to integrate as much as we can, and so okay. This is going to sound silly, but at some point, you go out shopping for certain products that you miss from home, like mayonnaise.
They've got mayonnaise
Mayonnaise, and it sounds, kind
She
of
means
silly.
a certain brand.
Yes, a certain
or
brand of
okay.
mayonnaise.
a
Now,
certain taste.
you can get all kinds of mayonnaise from here. There's Hellman's, there's the local
Yes.
brand, the Cove, there's a Heinz. But, where we're from in North Carolina, there's a certain brand called Duke's mayonnaise that you can't find anywhere else. And those are, some of the things that, like, we had heard that many people that moved here would rent a van for a weekend and drive all the way to Sevilla to the Costco to load up on American products.
In Spain.
In Spain. I mean, it's a 6-hour drive from here. And I said, we are
Boy.
not doing that shit. We are going to integrate, and we are going to use whatever products they have. And now I have my friend bringing me mayonnaise when she comes to visit.
But
Oh my God.
But, at the same time.
well, yeah, and there are, for that one example, there are thousands of things that we don't recreate here.
No.
For example, I think of a big refrigerator.
Yeah.
We have the typical small European refrigerator and freezer. And a lot of people that I would label as, expats, they have to have that big
They
refrigerator.
buy big refrigerators. Now, they have bigger spaces to put them in,
That's
too.
true.
I was like, no, we are not buying it. Because even we're in the process of having a house built kind of for us. And she's talking about getting, an extra freezer or a bigger refrigerator. And I'm like, no.
Not a bigger one, a second one.
See, a second one. Like, that's even better.
That has more freezer space.
and I'm like, but Europeans don't have those big giant freezers that I know about. Now maybe I'll find somebody that does, but we
Generally,
they shop
we don't.
daily. Yes, they shop
daily.
and when you buy fresh bread here, it's only going to last you 3 days because it doesn't have the preservatives in it. So
Yes.
you're not storing this stuff for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, we're sticking to that part.
Yeah.
We will shop every few days. We will get the
Yeah.
fresh things that we need, which
And
has
you
been,
live in a farming community.
yes. So we get fresh vegetables delivered to our house every Friday.
Oh,
We,
my gosh,
we're
I love
able,
it.
I can, the butcher is walking distance. I can walk down there and get fresh meat, not on Sunday or Monday, but any other time I
Yeah,
can.
that's right.
And, I can shop at any local place around here during the day, get fresh vegetables.
Walking distance.
Fresh bread anytime that I want.
We walk to the dentist. We walk to our cafes. We walk to the pharmacy, to our small shopping stores and the butcher. We will, depending on...
We walk to City Hall.
Yeah, depending post office, all those things, we walk. And depending on what's going on with us, we might not get in our car for 4 or 5 days.
Because we don't have to. Yeah.
And
And that is different than living in North Carolina. I had to drive everywhere to get whatever I needed,
Yeah. Same thing here.
Yeah.
Are you loving that? Are you loving the fact that you can spend days? Because that is just normal, because it reminds me of being in England. If I want to do a big shop, then I'll drive the car, pack up the boot, put all the bags and the groceries in there. Otherwise, I just walk up the road to the local shop and get bread, the milk, the necessaries for the necessities for the day. But I miss that. I miss the fact that I could walk to the train station and get on the train and within 20 minutes be in central London and just spend the whole day walking, or jump on a bus for 10 minutes to get from here to there. But everything is in walking distance, because in London, it's like a connection of many small villages, one after the other, and you can walk from one to the other. We spend hours just walking, and I love it. I wish I was able to do that here. That is one of the key things that we miss here in the U.S.
Yes, the U.S. is definitely a car culture, and it is built for that. It is, garages, and your car goes into the garage and the door comes down, and you don't even necessarily see your neighbors depending on, what you're doing, and everybody's off in their cars. We don't miss that at all. We love being able to walk to things. We do get in our car to go to a bigger grocery store, to do a major shop. It's 15 minutes away, but we do get in the car for that. And
then we make a day of it. We have lunch and we, go shopping to other places, and it's a day out, so to speak.
Yeah. But that is one of the things I love about being here.
Yeah, we get so much more exercise because we have to walk everywhere, and we're not, sitting at a desk as much, and we're not in the car as much. So, yeah, I think it's a healthier lifestyle anyway.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're thriving?
Yes.
Or what does thriving mean in this context of being immigrants, right? In the US or in Portugal, anywhere, is thriving the same thing? Is it still flourishing financially? Is it about career, or is it something different in this context?
It's in this context because we're both technically retired. It's not necessarily in career or financially at all. It's more like just living your life. Like, you have time to go hang out with your friends and have a coffee if you want to. You have time that you can go for a walk anytime that you want. I'm not stressed out as much. Our health has gotten so much better. It's a completely different lifestyle change. Now, that's because we're currently not working. Now, if we were, it might be a little bit different, but I still have, I do the podcast, I do the blog post, I do the social media. I block out time to do work like that, and it's growing slowly, but it's something that I love doing as opposed to, as a teacher, I love the teaching aspect, but it just got to be too stressful between all of the laws and the administration and the parents and everything that you had to do as a teacher. I was losing my mind.
Not
I
to
was,
mention that I worried about her every day.
yeah, and then I didn't feel safe, a lot of times where I was. But
Mhm.
now, I can walk anywhere during the middle of the night and do not feel like I'm in any sort of danger ever. We've been in Lisbon at midnight, walking back to the hotel, no problems, nothing. It's just, I think we're thriving because our health is so much better.
And psychologically, we're better. We're
Yeah.
a lot less stressed. We feel safer. Guns are not part of the society here. And there are some people, not that many, that hunt and have guns just for hunting. In fact, it is hunting season, I guess, right now. And we heard someone shoot a gun the other day when we were way out in the fields.
Yeah, we were out in the country walking around.
We
weren't in the village.
We weren't in the village at all. We were way out walking our dog and letting him run. And we heard someone shoot a gun. And I had not heard a gunshot that I know of anyway since
In about 3 years.
in about 3 years. And I always tell the story about when we first came here, fireworks, or rather rockets that just go up and boom.
Mhm.
They're not even pretty. They just make noise. They're very popular to set off here during our festas or festivals. And so you you start hearing them. And when we first moved here, we would they sound like a gunshot, and we would practically hit the deck, hit the
freeze.
floor.
We'd be like, okay.
And intake of breath, and oh my God, what was that? And we have now grown very used to it.
And you need to realize that before we left, we were living in a city in North Carolina where we were sitting out on my back deck and we would hear gunshots.
Yes.
And then we'd hear sirens about 5 minutes later. So we knew what gunshots sounded like that weren't hunting. And so we would stop and be like, okay. We had a little PTSD, I think, the first,
we did.
months we were here.
No question.
But now it's like, we're walking through the country and we're like, oh, someone's hunting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but we still felt safe.
Yeah. I didn't feel like they were shooting at us or shooting each other.
Right.
Or shooting the dog because the dog was close to us. So.
And we always have the added layer, Shelley and I, as two married women, and didn't always feel safe in places in North Carolina or other places in the United States. And here, it's a completely different attitude. We're protected in the Constitution, for example. And people are very...
It's a live and let live kind of situation.
Yeah, it's just a non-issue.
Nobody cares.
And
or if they do, we don't know about it because we don't understand what they're saying. But still, they're still like, yes, come have a drink.
Yes,
do
whatever. And
Yeah.
we have gay friends who ask us when they're coming, where are the gay bars? Where are the, what town should I go to where I'm going to feel comfortable? What, and they ask us those kinds of questions, which is a consideration in the United States and other places. But here, we always say it's not really a thing here. Go wherever you want to. You can hold hands. You can, just be yourself.
Now, granted, it's a reserved culture also, so you're not supposed to make out in the bar, but
Mhm.
Well,
can
that's anyone, though, of any sex.
any sex. So
Yeah, that is not
Yeah,
just
that's just
targeted.
not toward us. But
Yeah.
just go wherever you want. Nobody's going to give you a hard time about it.
Yeah.
So you're not missing home. You're not homesick.
I'm not homesick at all. No. Now I miss my BFF. Shout out Julie.
Hey, Julie.
But we talk. We talk for a while there. We were talking once a week. We'd have a video chat that lasted about 2 hours, about once a week.
Mhm.
We're going to do another one this weekend, but for the most part, no, I don't miss home at all. I don't miss the United States.
I wouldn't go back. There is one exception to that, and that is I have a son who is an adult. He happens to be here right now with us. Funny that I'm talking about him, but I do have an adult son, and if he needed me, I would go back temporarily for him. But other than that, no. I mean, I would never move back. We always say
Wow.
that if Portugal didn't let us stay for some reason,
Mhm.
we would find another country to immigrate to. We would not go back to the United States. I mean,
We can help it. Yeah.
for one thing, we can't afford it.
It's expensive right now.
I mean, we were tired and it would be very difficult. I mean, we would have to go back to work if we
Right.
went back to the United
Yeah.
States, and that is not what either of us wants.
Mhm.
We like living a slower life. We like doing things that seem unusual to an American, like never having your coffee to go. Good. In fact, that doesn't really exist here.
No.
You are expected, if you're going to have a coffee, even if you drink it quickly, you still
Mhm.
stop and either stand at the counter or
Mhm.
sit at a table and you
Mhm.
slow down for just a minute and you enjoy that coffee. You don't sip it mindlessly as you're walking down the street. And
Yeah.
we love those differences and would not want to go back to the pace of what we had before.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And I hope none of this makes you feel bad, Yolanda, because
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all because I'm married to a German and he rarely eats out. Okay, we do eat out, but it's not very often because he just doesn't like the whole idea of, the fast coffee and the fast croissant and, okay, you've got 20 minutes or half an hour or an hour to have your meal because the next people are waiting for your table and, the check comes too quickly, that sort of, we've experienced those sort of things. And no, we don't like that because, like, for example, where you are, and what we know is that food is part of community, right? When you go in to have a meal, you have it with other people. It's really not even just about the food, it's about the conversation, it's about the people you are surrounded by who are with you. It's the chat and the exchange. It's that life. That is what we're engaging in. And food just happens to be a beautiful part of it,
yes,
So we try to do that ourselves at home. These are some of the things that we've brought with us. You just can't help bringing things with you when you move abroad. And even though I want to experience and I love experiencing some of what we have here in this particular area, because there's hiking, there's so much to enjoy here, but we want the time and the ability to be able to enjoy it. But then it's work, 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 work. That pace that you mentioned, that is just like a hamster in a hamster wheel. We're beginning to find that a little bit too much. I work from home. It's really my husband who has that stress. So now we're looking at how can we alter that? How can we change that? We need a different pace. We need to be able to enjoy the human side of life. I love tea. when I record with my guests, I'm always having tea, but I love my tea in a teapot.
Mhm.
I love being able to pour my tea and add my honey or whatever. And I love being able to take time to decide, which tea am I going to have? Am I going to have a breakfast? I'm going to have an afternoon tea. Am I going to have an Earl Grey? Because I love the slow pace of that. And I feel like this environment doesn't lend itself easily to that. So I'm having to recreate that in my world, in my space with my husband, my daughter, and some of my friends. Let's go to afternoon tea. Let's just slow down and just
Yes.
enjoy who we are and take some of that culture with us.
The advantage you have is that you know that there's a different way than being on the hamster wheel. And so you're
Yes.
conscious of it and you can try to recreate it in the United States. I think people who have been born and raised and still live in the United States and who haven't traveled extensively, they are not even aware that there is a different way. They just accept it as a normal part of their life. They do not realize, and I would say that Shelley and I did not realize how incredibly stressful our lives were for
Mhm.
lots of different reasons, for safety, for the schedule we kept, for the miles that we drove. All of those things is, I mean, even if you like it, it's stressful. And when we came here, now it took us 6 months
A year. It took
to
a year.
what I'm going to say, recover from the stress and the incredible workload of moving and selling everything we owned and deciding what little we were going to bring and all of that, and getting here and getting our house set up and all of that.
Mhm.
And also coming down from all of that stress and being able
Mhm.
to truly relax. I think I didn't even know what it was to relax. Here, you do not think about work after your quitting time, whatever. Let's say it's 5 o'clock. When you leave work at 5, you pretty much don't even think about work until you
Mhm.
get to your office the next day, if it's during the week. It would be very unusual for your manager to
Mhm.
email you at night or text
No,
you at night and expect an answer. It would be, it's just not the way it's done. When the bell
no.
rings, so to speak, at 5 o'clock, you
You're right,
are
done.
you're done, and you go spend time with family and
Yeah.
friends and do other things, and you don't
Yeah.
think about work.
Because I think it's just a culture deal between the United States is all about the hustle, and it's all
Yeah.
about, the wealth and the amassing, the things.
Yeah, the bigger car,
Where
the bigger
where
house, the
here in
bigger.
Europe, it's more important that your life and your health and your friends and your family are more important. It's that sort of there's no balance in the United States, and there's a lot more balance here. I think that's what
Yes,
you're trying to get
it is.
across. Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
And of course, as soon as we say a statement like that, there are exceptions.
Mhm.
But in general,
In general, I mean, that's just what we've experienced here because we came down from the hustle of working 50 to 60 hours a week, whether we were getting paid for 50 or 60 hours a week or not, to coming here and not having to, just hustle all the time. Do you
so
have anything to ask while
Gosh,
she's looking
yes.
through
I
her?
mean, I have so many questions to ask you, but I'm intrigued by what you've experienced. I'm intrigued by your decision to move. I wonder what was the thing? Was there one thing where you decided, okay, that's it. Let's up sticks. We're going. I've had enough. I'm done. What was the thing that pulled you or pushed you? Pushed you from the US or pulled you to Portugal?
I don't think anything actually pushed us from the US at the time that we decided to move. I think it was more that she was so ready to retire. She's older than I am and she was just ready to retire. And I was at the point where I could not go back into the classroom. My stress level could not handle it. And I was looking for a job outside of the classroom, still in education, but because we were so short-handed, there was just no way that was going to happen. So, yeah, we were just kind of stuck. And the funny thing was, we joke about this all the time. When we first started dating, about 3 months into the relationship, she says, "How do you feel about moving to Europe?" And I was like, "That sounds great. Let's go." And so a little bit later, she asked me about Portugal because she had been before. And I said, "Well, you know what? I think it's a wonderful idea, but perhaps I should go before we move to check it out to make sure that's where I want to be. And I can adjust to it." And of course, we did that and we made that decision. It kind of, the life events and the way that things were going sort of just propelled us in that direction. Everything just seemed to work.
Yeah, I had always wanted to live in Europe when I retired. Well, preferably before that, once you're on that hamster wheel, it's hard to get off. But it was kind of always my intention. And then before I met Shelley, I had cancer and I'm great now. But I went through a cancer experience, and I think that experience truly taught me, not just saying it as, saying you put on your wall or something, but really experiencing the fact that life is too short.
I
And
believe that.
yes, and one should not just live and not just let time go by, and not live with regrets if possible, and to really take charge of your life. And so I came into it with that attitude. And then Shelley, God love her, I didn't scare her away at any point by saying, "Hey, let's sell everything." Because we sold a house and 2 cars and almost all of our possessions, and we did not bring a container, not a container, but like a pallet with boxes here. We didn't do any of that. We brought 19 suitcases that we had shipped.
You bought
was
what?
too many.
I didn't. How many?
19 suitcases.
And that was too many.
Yeah, and if we had it to do over,
we would do much less.
We would probably do less.
Stuff we brought that a year later we started going through and I was like, why did I bring this?
Yeah.
What was I thinking?
What did you bring? Pots and pans?
No.
Potato peelers?
It was more like just funny little personal items from like your childhood or some workbooks and books from my education that, I kept. And I was like, pictures. And I was like, why did I keep this? Because this means nothing right now. And I wish I had brought more English books to read.
Yeah, we brought, like I had I'm going to call an extensive antique dish collection, all kinds of different dishes, and I sold it all or gave it away. I brought, I brought 1 plate and 1 teacup from your grandmother.
Yeah,
and
it was sentimental things
Yeah,
that we
it was
were
more
hanging
like
on to.
sentimental. And of course, clothes, although we pared way down.
Yeah,
but
we pared
clothes.
everything down, but it was sentimental things that later I went back and went, I didn't really need this.
I think though when you're
That's
getting
interesting.
when you're getting rid of a lifetime of things,
Yes, we're talking about attics and basements full of stuff you
Yeah.
kept from like elementary and high school years.
and we had already gotten rid. We did get rid of so much. There were certain things that we got to and went, no, I can't get rid of this. And for the most part, I'm okay with what we brought.
But I want to go ahead and say, there's still things that we brought that were sentimental, but they're in a cabinet.
They're still in a cabinet, yeah.
And they're not being used. And so at some point, we're going to go through that stuff and wonder what to do with it.
Yeah.
So, you know how it is when you have to like clean out your parents' house after they've passed away, or at a
Yeah.
relative, and or your parents are trying to give you things that they've had
Yeah.
forever and they want you to have them because it helps you set up a house. You're making those sort of decisions when you're moving, and some stuff is just hard to let go of.
Yeah. Did it feel like a weight lifted? Did you
Oh,
feel lighter? And that feels
Absolutely.
huge weight.
like an emotional cleanser. It feels like a mental health clean out.
Yes.
It absolutely did.
And I
Just
will also say that once you get here, sometimes the challenge is not replacing those items, like an antique dish collection that nobody needs.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Oh,
there's something that she absolutely loves, but we go through, a
dear,
flea
that's
market
hilarious.
or a shop and they have those things. And she's like, we need to bring home 12 of these dishes. And I'm like, for what? And where are we going to put them?
Yeah.
Because our apartment is tiny and we
Yeah.
do not have the space.
Yeah, or buy a place that is small enough that you aren't able to re-amass
Yes,
things
don't
once
reamass.
you get here.
Mm.
Yeah.
Travel
But
lighter.
Yes, it's about traveling lighter, I think, and understanding that, no matter what stuff you've accumulated over your life, you're not going to take it with you when you die.
Yeah.
And
It's
chances
just
are your
stuff.
kids don't want it either.
Yeah.
Chances are some of them might. I don't know. But I didn't want my parents' stuff.
Right.
I'm like, no. It's just
Yeah,
stuff.
it's we do feel lighter. It was like, as you said, an emotional cleanse.
Yeah.
It was hard for some of our people, for some family, some friends, really close friends, they would tend to say, "Well, I'll just keep that for you. And then if you decide you want it after you move, we can get it to you." Those sorts of things, because
Yeah.
they were having a hard time with us letting go of so much. And it was a really interesting experience trying to kind of talk them through that. But there's no question that I am the kind of person that once I have decided this is definitely what we are doing, and of course that, Shelley is in alignment with that, then nothing's going to stop me. I'm going to get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somehow it all works out. And that is in general my attitude in life. Somehow it works out. Just don't stress about it as much as you can manage. Don't go back and second guess it 400 times. Just decide what you need to do. And of course, ground that decision in a good grounding, and then go for it.
Just do it.
Life's too short. Yeah. Yeah. Nike had it right when they said, just do it. Yeah.
If you're
So
thinking
anyway,
of moving abroad, do
just
your
do it.
research, just do it. Yeah, I
Well,
agree.
and what if you do it and you don't like it, you can make a different decision.
Yeah.
It's not like,
Yeah.
it's the United States, for example, would let us back in if we wanted to go back,
They might.
or England.
You're not so sure.
England would
Who
welcome you
knows?
back, Yolanda.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of thing. Yeah. Life's too short not to
Yeah.
be an
Just do
explorer.
it. Just do it. Oh, how fabulous. Amazing. I love it. I love that you are having this adventure. I love that you can do it any time of life. Just do it. I would hate, and I've said this before on an episode, I think I was probably about 18 years old, and I woke up one morning and I said, you know what? I'm going to go off to Belgium just for the weekend. And I packed my bags, I booked a hotel online. I started making my way to the train. And when I got to the train station, I met a family friend, and I was 18 and she was probably 45 at that point. And she asked me, "Where are you going?" And I told her, "Oh, I'm going to Belgium for the weekend." "What, by yourself?" "Yes." I couldn't do that. Why would you go by yourself? "Well, I want to go. Why wouldn't I go?" "I couldn't do that," she said to me. And she kept emphasizing all the things that could go wrong and what she's afraid of. And I stood there and I listened and I thought to myself, I don't want to be that person. I want to be the person who is brave. I want to be the person who will just do it. I want
Yes.
to be the person who might feel, oh, I don't know what it's like. I might feel a bit afraid of something or the other. But I don't want to get to her life and all that I have. I'm not saying that's all she has, but all that I have is just a mass of fears and maybe regrets. For me, it would be regrets. I would have far too many regrets of not having traveled and moved and seen other cultures and got some stamps in the passports. And, I love traveling. We still travel a great deal. After giving birth, my first travel was when my daughter was 4 months old, and we haven't stopped 2 or 3 times a year. We just go somewhere different and take her with us. And so I love that because, like you said, we don't have a lot of time, but the world is actually, it's really beautiful. People are actually really beautiful, and the music and their food and just life
Mhm.
is just incredible. Just just do it. I don't want to have regrets. And I love that you are having this adventure. I love that you're living in this farming community and just doing it. It's nice. It's nice.
Oh, thank you. It is nice. It's a great
I
life.
absolutely love it. I do.
I would want to hear what you would say to the woman who's just landing anywhere, the woman who's just landing in her home away from home. What would
Mm.
you say to her about belonging, about herself, about what's possible?
Oh, that would be a huge answer. But I think what I would say right off the bat is take a little time to breathe and really let go of the stress and the exhaustion that you brought with you. Because even if you didn't move from somewhere that was stressful and exhausting, moving to a different country is stressful and exhausting. So take a little time, be kind to yourself, and then get out there. Go sit in the cafe. Go when your village is putting on a festa, go and just even though it's uncomfortable at first, go and just put yourself out there and start experiencing the culture and also learn the language.
I
Beautiful.
think I'd be a little more sentimental and I'd say something like, I am so proud of you for taking this incredibly brave step
Mm.
and being so brave to set out on an adventure like this. And that although there will be challenges that you will face along the way, every single one of them is worth it because you're going to learn something new about yourself and you are going to have the most grand adventure of your life. So embrace it all, the bad, the good, the gentle coffee in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
everything.
that's a great
Nice.
answer.
That is a great
That's what
answer.
yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
what I've tried to do anyway. There's
Yeah.
some days where I'm like, I don't want to go out there.
Yeah. And another piece of advice in that speech we would give would also be there are going to be bad days, but that does not mean that you have failed. That does not mean you've made the wrong decision. That does not mean this was a bad idea. You just hit some obstacles occasionally, or you suddenly miss someone back home, or a food or something, but keep going,
Mhm.
keep
Mm,
getting through it, and pretty soon you won't have those days.
Yeah.
Or at least,
There'll be fewer and fewer as you
yeah,
go.
fewer and fewer.
yeah,
Okay, this has
This has
been
been amazing.
so much fun, Yolanda,
it
and I
has.
would I would love to talk again sometime.
We need to do a part
Yes.
2 or
Yeah, that would be great.
something, yeah.
But
Thank you so much for joining us today, Yolanda. We have so enjoyed this.
I have as well. It has been a great deal of fun. I have loved chatting with you. Next time, I hope we have part 2. Next time, I'm going to be sure to have my teapot and my tea as we sit and as we chat. Let's talk some
excellent.
more. Thank you.
Okay.
We had our gin.
Yes.
You
All
did
right.
you say you had your gin?
We had our
Yes,
gin.
Lovely,
we
lovely. That's what
always
I'll
do.
do.
All right. So I guess
Brilliant.
we will say, because it is dark outside, we will say boa noite.
Yes. Boa noite.
Boa noite.
That means goodbye,
Boa noite. And you
Yolanda.
can say, or actually it means good night.
Yeah.
Well, boa noite to you too. Enjoy the rest of
Thank
your
you.
evening.
Thank you.
Thanks for wandering with us. If you had a laugh, learned something new, or just enjoyed the ride, be sure to follow us on all of our social media at Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, YouTube, and I think that's it. Check out our website at www.forus, that's www.forus.com, and drop us a line at our email address at wandering@www.forus.com. We'd love to hear from you, your stories, questions, or favorite travel fails. Until next time, keep exploring, keep laughing, and remember, wandering works for us, and it just might work for you too.